For days he slept under a tree. I swear, under a tree. Then somehow he borrowed 100 rupees, and with that he bought new pots and pans. Hamid, isn't 100 more than 50? Where's 50 and where's 100? 50 fills one bag, but 100 wouldn't fit into even two bags. The settlement began to grow denser. Groups of people heading to the Idgah started appearing. They were all dressed in the most dazzling clothes. Some were riding on carts or carriages, some were in cars, all perfumed, all with excitement in their hearts. This small group of villagers, unaware of their poverty, worked on with contentment and patience. Everything in the city seemed new and fascinating to the children. Whatever they looked at, they would just keep staring at it, unmindful of the repeated horn sounds coming from behind them. Hamid almost got run over by a car. Suddenly, the Idgah appeared. Above it, there was a cool shade of dense tamarind trees, below, a paved floor with rugs laid out on it. Rows of fasting people stretched far beyond the paved platform, all the way to a place where there were no rugs. New arrivals would come and stand at the back of the line. There was no space ahead. Here, no one looks at wealth or position. In the eyes of Islam, all are equal. These villagers also performed their ablution, wuzu, and stood in the back row. How beautifully it was organized, how perfect the arrangement. Millions of heads bow down together in prostration. Then they all stand up together, bow again together, and then they sit on their knees together. This same sequence happens over and over again, as if millions of lights are lit up at once and then extinguished simultaneously, continuing in this unbroken pattern. What an extraordinary sight it was, whose collective actions, vastness, and infinity filled the heart with reverence, pride, and inner joy, as if a single thread of brotherhood was binding all these souls together in one unbroken strand. The prayer has ended. People are greeting each other with hugs, then a rush occurs at the sweet and toy shops. This group of villagers is no less enthusiastic about this than the children. Look, there's a swing. Pay a paisa and get on. You'll feel like you're flying in the sky one moment and falling to the ground the next. These are the fat figures, wooden elephants, horses, and camels hanging from sticks. Pay a paisa, get on, and enjoy 25 rounds. Mahmood, Mohsin, Noor, and Sami sit on these horses and camels. Hamid stands at a distance. He only has 3 paisas. He can't give away a third of his savings just for a small ride. Everyone gets off the swings. Now they will buy toys. A line of shops is set up here. There are all sorts of toys: soldiers and gunners, kings and lawyers, water carriers and washerwomen, saints. Wow, how beautiful the toys are! They are eager to speak now. Mahmoud picks a soldier in khaki uniform and a red turban, with a gun slung over his shoulder. It looks like he has just returned from a drill. Mohsin likes the water carrier. His back is bent and he's holding a water pouch with one hand, looking so happy. Maybe he's singing a song. The pouch seems ready to pour water. Noor loves the lawyer. What wisdom his face shows. He's dressed up in a black gown with a white coat underneath. A pocket watch with a golden chain hangs from the coat pocket. One hand holds a legal book. It seems he's just come from a courtroom after questioning or debating a case. These are all toys costing 2 paisas each. Hamid only has 3 paisas in total. How can he afford such expensive toys? If a toy slips from his hand, it will break into pieces, and if it gets wet, the color will wash off. What would he do with such toys? What use are they to him? Mohsin says, my water carrier will give me water every day, morning and evening. Mahmoud, and my soldier will guard my house. If any thieves comes, he'll immediately point his gun at him, Noor, and my lawyer will fight the case vigorously. Sami, and my washerwoman will wash clothes every day. Hamid criticizes the toys. They are made of clay. If they fall, they'll shatter into pieces. But his eyes are greedily watching the toys. He wants to hold them for just a moment. His hands instinctively reach for them. But the boys are not so selfless, especially when the interest is still fresh. Hamid is left longing. After the toys, the sweets arrive. Some have taken Jabari sweet treats, some gulab jamun, and others sohan halwa. They are enjoying them. Hamid is isolated from the group. The poor fellow only has 3 paisa. Why doesn't he buy something to eat? He looks greedily at everyone's else's treats. Mohsin says, Hamid, take a rabdi. It smells so good. Hamid is suspicious, thinking this is just cruel teasing. Mohsin is not so generous, but even knowing this, he goes to him. Mohsin takes a rabdi from his place and offers it to Hamid. Hamid stretches out his hand. Mohsin puts the rabdi in his mouth. Mahmood, Noor, and Sami laugh and clap loudly. Hamid feels embarrassed. Mohsin, all right, this time I'll surely give it to you, Hamid. By God, take it. Hamid, you keep it. Don't I have money? Sami, you have only 3 paisa. What can you buy with 3 paisa? Mahmood, take gulab jamun from me, Hamid. Mohsin is a rascal. Hamid, sweets are such a great blessing. There are so many flaws written about them in the book. Mohsin, but in his heart, he must be thinking, if it's offered, I'll eat it. Why doesn't he take out his own money? Mahmood, we understand his trick. When all our money is spent, he will tempt us with things to eat. After the sweets, there were some shops selling iron goods, some with gilt and some with fake jewelry. There was nothing here to attract the boys. They all moved on ahead. Hamid, however, stopped at the iron goods shop. There were several tongs on display. He thought of his grandmother. She didn't have a tong. When she takes the bread off the girdle, her hands get burnt. If he could buy a tong and give it to her, how happy she would be. Then her fingers would never burn again. It would be something useful for the house. What use are toys? Money is wasted on them. The joy lasts only for a little while. Then no one even looks at the toys. They break or get ruined by the time they reach home. But a tong, what a useful thing it is. You can use it to take bread off the girdle to roast something on the stove. If someone asks for fire, you can quickly take some from the stove and give it to them. Poor mother, when does she have the time to come to the market and how much money does she have? She burns her hands every day. Hamid's companions have moved ahead. They are all sitting at the water cooler drinking sharbat. Look how greedy they are. They took so many sweets, but not a single one was given to me. And then they say, play with me, do this for me. Now, if anyone asks me to do something, I will ask, did you eat sweets? You'll get pimples and boils from that. Your tongue will get all sweet and sticky. Then you'll steal money from home and get beaten. The book doesn't tell lies. Why would my tongue get spoiled? The moment my mother sees the tongue, she'll run and grab it from my hands and say, my child has brought a tongue for me. She'll bless me with thousands of prayers. Then she'll show it to the women in the neighborhood. Soon the whole village would be talking. Hamid has bought a new tongue. What a good boy he is. Who would bless these people for their toys? The blessings of elders go directly to Allah's court and are immediately accepted. I don't have money, that's why Mohsin and Mahmood are showing off like this. I'll show them my own strength too. Let them play with toys and eat sweets. I don't play with toys. Why should I bear anyone's mood? I may be poor, but I never go to ask anyone for anything. After all, Abba Jan will come someday. Amma will also come. Then I will ask them, how many toys will you take? I will give each of them a toy and show them how friends should be treated. It's not that just because I've taken a few pennies worth of sweets, they will taunt me and tease me. Let them laugh. I don't care. He asked the shopkeeper, how much is this tongue? The shopkeeper looked at him and said, no one here is really of any use. Is it for sale or not? Why wouldn't it be? And why would you bring it here? Then why don't you tell me how much it costs? It will cost 6 paise. Hamid's heart sank. Tell me the exact price. Alright, it will be 5 paise. If you want it, take it. If not, then go away. Hamid gathered courage and said, will you take 3 paise? Saying this, he moved forward, not wanting to hear the shopkeeper's scolding, but the shopkeeper didn't scold him. He called him back and gave him the tongue. Hamid placed it on his shoulder as if it were a rifle and walked proudly to his friends. Let's hear what they had to say. Mohsin laughed and said, "Why did you bring this tongue, you fool? What will you do with it?" Hamid slammed the tongue on the ground and said, "Try dropping your water carrier on the ground and see what happens. Its ribs will break into pieces. What will you do then?" Mahmoud asked. "Is this tongue a toy?" Hamid. "Why are there no toys? Just now I placed it on my shoulder and it became a rifle. I hold it in my hand and it turns into a beggar's tongue. If I wanted, I could use it as a majira, musical instrument. If I give one good hit with this tongue, all of your toys will lose their life. No matter how hard you try, your toys can't even touch my tongue. It's my brave lion, my tongue." Sami had a dagger. Impressed, he said, "Will you trade for my dagger? It costs 2 annas." Hamid looked at the dagger with disdain. "My tongue, if it wishes, can tear open your dagger's belly. Just a thin layer of leather was added, and now it makes a dull sound. If it gets a little water on it, it will be useless. My brave tongue will stand firm in fire, water, storms, and winds." The tongue captivated everyone, but now the question was, who had the money? They had moved far from the fair. The 9 o'clock bells had already rung, and the sun was getting hotter. They were in a hurry to get home. Even if they insisted with their father, the tongue would be still out of reach. Hamid was clever, which is why the rascal had saved his money. Now, two groups of children had formed. Mohsin, Mahmoud, Sami, and Nouri were on one side, and Hamid stood alone on the other. A debate was underway. Sami had already become an apostate, having joined the other side, but even though Mohsin, Mahmoud, and Nouri were each 1 or 2 years older than Hamid, they were terrorized by Hamid's word. He had the strength of justice and the power of reason. One side was clay and the other side was iron, which was now declaring itself to be steel. Hamid was invincible, deadly. If a lion appeared, the water carrier would be petrified. The soldier would drop his clay gun and flee, and even the lawyer would hide his face in his shawl and lay flat on the ground. But this strong, this brave, this Rustame Hind would leap onto the lion's neck and gouge out its eyes. Mohsin exerted all his strength and said, "All right, but it can't even carry water." Hamid stood up his strong upright and said, "If I give the water carrier a good scolding, he'll start running to fetch water and sprinkle at his door." Mohsin was defeated, but Mahmoud came to his aid. "If we manage to catch him, he'll be bound and dragged to court. Then he'll end up at the lawyer's feet." Hamid couldn't come up with a strong rebuttal to this powerful argument. He asked, "Who is going to catch us?" Nouri, puffing up, said, "The soldier with the gun." Hamid, making a face, said, "This poor fellow will catch us, the brave Rustam-e-Hind." "Ha! Let him come. I'll challenge him to a wrestling match right now. He'll run away at the mere sight of us. How will he catch us?" Mohsin then came up with a new jab. "Your tongue's mouth will burn in fire every day." He thought Hamid would be at loss for words, but Hamid immediately responded, "Only the brave jump into fire, sir. Your lawyer, soldier, and water carrier will run into house like women. Jumping into fire is a task only the Rustam-e-Hind can do." Mahmoud tried his best. "The lawyer will sit at the desk while your tongue will lie on the kitchen floor." This argument even stirred Sami and Noor. "What a sensible thing Mahmoud has said. The tongue can only stay in the kitchen. What else can it do?" Hamid couldn't come up with an immediate witty response, so he resorted to a bit of buffling. "My tongue won't stay in the kitchen. If the lawyer sits at his desk, I'll grab him, throw him to the ground, and shove his law into his belly." Though the argument didn't really settle anything, the talk of shoving the law into his belly made a significant impact. It struck them so much that the three of them stood there, staring as if struck by a powerful blow. It was as though a crow had been struck by another crow from a different flock. The law is something that comes out of the mouth. To shove it into the belly is an absurd idea, but it still carries a certain novelty. Hamid won the argument. His tongue was Rustam-e-Hind now. No one, whether it was Mohsin, Mahmud, Noori, or Sami, could object it. The respect that a winner naturally receives from the losers was given to Hamid as well. The others had spent 3 or 4 annas each, but couldn't buy anything worthwhile. Hamid, on the other hand, made a success with just 3 paise. It's true, what is the guarantee that toys will last? They'll break, but Hamid's tongue will last for years. The terms of reconciliation were now being decided. Mohsin said, "Let's see your tongue. Just for a moment. You show us your water carrier." Mahmud and Nouri also presented their toys. Hamid had no objections to these terms. The tongue passed from hand to hand, and the toys passed one by one into Hamid's hand. What beautiful toys! Hamid wiped the tears of the defeated. "I was just teasing you, really. How could this tongue compare to your toys? I knew it would be like this. I knew it." But Mohsin's group wasn't entirely satisfied with this reassurance. The tongue's reputation had firmly taken hold. The sticker that was once stuck on it now wouldn't come off, no matter what. Mohsin said, "But for these toys, will anyone give us a blessing?" Mahmud replied, "Do you carry blessings with you? You'd better hope you don't get a slap. Your mother will surely ask. These clay toys were what you got at the fair." Hamid had to admit that no one's mother would be as happy seeing the toys as his grandmother would be seeing the tongue. With just 3 paise, he had done it all, and there was no regret about how he had spent the money. After all, now the tongue was Rustam-e-Hind, the king of all toys. On the way, Mahmud became hungry. His father had given him bananas to eat. Mahmud only shared them with Hamid. The other friends stood there staring. This was the blessing of that tongue. Please like, share, and subscribe and wait for the next part.